Hi, everyone. Thank you again for your patience with the speech one grades. I am feeling better, still hacking a bit, but feeling better and feeling a little less under my stack of grading. It was my own mistake to have the Super Bowl Sunday be the due date for all 6 of my classes. So I will know better next time. I have graded all of the speeches that have been submitted, so I provided you feedback. And I usually use the feedback text box with the built-in rubric to provide feedback on specific areas of your speech that you can take a look at. And I am going to also put some of the things I cover in the short video in a bulleted announcement, just in case you want to read versus watch or do both. So I think what I'm seeing is most of you, the majority of you are hitting your time limits. So remember, you have an over under of 30 seconds. So you can be short or long, 30 seconds for the time requirement. Your next speech, the persuasive, will be the longest. It's a 5 to 8 minute speech. So your time limits are 4.5 to 8.5. So as you practice and time yourself, if you're consistently running over, look for areas that you can cut. If you're running under, look for areas that you can add. And I try to kind of chunk out my speeches based on my time. So if I have a 5-minute speech, I don't want my intro to be longer than 45 seconds, probably to a minute at max. The body of my speech should contain the bulk of the time. So 2 to 3 minutes. And then my conclusion would be 30 seconds or so. So that helps you with parameters and timing, something to keep in mind. You are picking interesting topics and you are presenting your information and citing your sources pretty well. A few things that I consistently saw that I'd like to reiterate that I'd like to see you keep doing are the following. Camera lens. I have a computer station here at work that has a camera that pops up in the top of my screen. And so I have this little light that I look at, which feels weird. I can kind of see myself down here on the screen, but I know that when I look at that light, I'm looking at you, my audience, and that's what I want you all to do more of. Obviously, I'm not expecting you to have your entire speech memorized. Memorizing your speeches comes with its own downfalls, but instead of having your entire speech outline up in front of you on your screen, make yourself a keyboard outline, have some keys, phrases, bump up your font, have it in bold, have it big, make your margins large so that you can easily scan it and quickly look at it like I'm trying to do now. But don't have it entirely written in front of you because you will read it. And the more you read it, the less you look at your audience and the more your voice starts to sound like a robot. And then you don't do the thing where you pause and leave your sentences and you just start to kind of have your audience tune out. I want you to envision your speeches as a conversation that you're having with friends and family. You are informing us of something that is interesting to you. And if you inject your speech and your tone and your gestures and your eye contact with enthusiasm, that will come across to your audience. So keep practicing enough that you know what your time is approximately, that you're familiar with the flow of your content. You're not going to say your speech word for word as you've written it on your outline. It's impractical to do so, and we always change things when we deliver. That's okay. I would much rather you present it more casually, more conversationally, and maybe forget one little tidbit than to have you read your entire speech to us. So really focus on less reading, more eye contact, and looking at that camera lens. Practice, practice, practice. I've said it multiple times, and it's the one piece of feedback that former students record as being something they wish they had done more of, is practicing. And fortunately, you have multiple means of practicing. If you commute, try saying your speech aloud. If you take walks, try walking and talking, or have a buddy sit across from you or sit next to you as you rehearse your speech. Do it in front of a mirror, record yourself. Having it said aloud multiple times will get the wording, the flow imprinted in your brain. You still have notes to back up. You still have things that you can rely upon, but the more you do it, the more you get comfortable with it, the more you know what you want to say and where it's going next, and the more confident you'll feel in that. It can feel silly. It can feel frustrating. public speaking is one of the most feared classes in the world. People avoid it until the very end of their term. And it unfortunately has been the thing that has caused people to not graduate because they just can't get through their speech class. I want you to get through your speech class, and I want you to feel confident in yourself when you're presenting by the end of the term, have an increase in your confidence. As far as your setup of your camera, I know you're recording at home often, and home can mean you don't have a lot of private spaces to do this. So a couple things to consider. Maybe some of you are recording on your phone rather than holding your phone in front of you. Find an overturned laundry basket, a small table, a stack of books, have a friend behind the camera and clicking record for you rather than having you holding it, because it often means that we're looking up at you versus straight on at you, like we would be, across from a dinner table or in a classroom having a conversation. And if you're holding it, you're going to be more prone to kind of moving it around, and that can be distracting. So you see how I'm framed in this camera lens? I'm in my office. I'm sitting down. I'm not standing. You're not required to stand, but often standing can make you feel a little bit more formal and a little bit more like you're actually giving a presentation. But if you are going to sit, make sure that you're sitting up, that you are sitting in a way that if you were, let's say, presenting on Zoom for a job that you really find important, that you are presenting in a way that is professional and confident. If you have to sit on your bed, make sure you're sitting up on your bed and you're not slouching or, leaned against your headboard. The other thing I would say is I'm not requiring you to dress up, but I do need you to do a couple things. I need you to remove your caps, just because caps tend to create shadows and I want to see your eyes. I want you to put your hoodies down, and I want you to remove your earbuds when possible. I don't care what you wear so much as long as you're not wearing things that have profanity or offensive words on them. But we need to have the appearance of a semi-formal presentation, even though we're recording possibly in our bedrooms or our bathrooms. So try to set up in such a way that you are presenting in that fashion. I didn't hear too many pets, but I did see some whirring ceiling fans. So if you're in a room that has a ceiling fan, just turning that off while you're recording, just because the constant motion can be distracting. I think I saw maybe a couple televisions in the backgrounds, again, turning it off temporarily, because any kind of motion over here, any kind of light and noise is distracting for your audience, especially when you're watching a small video. Most of you did do your sources well, but we do need to orally hear your sources when and where they're used. So your source requirement, I believe, was a minimum of 3. And so within the body of your speech, I'm expecting to hear something like, according to the American Heart Association or the British Broadcasting Corporation or the BBC in a recent report said, so that we can begin to hear when your sources are used. Because you are required to do research, we need to know when and where that research is used. And you'll also indicate that in your outline. I also want to offer, if I did make comments in your outline that you were missing sources and you got a lesser score than you'd like, you are welcome to add those sources and resubmit the outline, and I'll regrade the outline. Unfortunately, I'm not going to regrade the speech, but I will regrade the outline. So I will bullet point some of the things that I've covered in this video, but I hope that helps. Your next video is your recorded video in front of a live audience, meaning that you need to recruit people in your life to watch you live and record that, or you need to set up a time with me on Zoom to present to me and fellow classmates. So your setup will naturally be different in that case, because you're going to try to record yourself presenting to people in the same room with you. I think an easier way to do this is around a kitchen table. You can have your audience members seated and looking at you, and you at the end of the table presenting to them, and somebody at the opposite end recording you. That means that you might need to enlist more than 3 audience members just to have somebody helping. But that is one way that you can do it. If you have access at work to a break room or a room with a podium, that can be a nice way to do it too. We do have spaces on campus. And if you would like to set up a time during that week when the speeches are due to come in, we can talk about doing that too. So just a heads up for what's coming. Start thinking about who you want your audience to be, or if you cannot gather at least 3 adults, then thinking about how you're going to present to me on Zoom or in person. So hope that helps. Good job, everyone. Again, thanks for your patience, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Take care.